Questions asked about his commitment, about his distractions. Could he handle the pressure? Was he man enough? And he has shown them all with one of the great drives. Lewis Hamilton wins the British Grand Prix.
Silverstone was not only one of the great drives, but one of the great celebrations. A celebration for Lewis Hamilton, back on top of the Drivers' Championship. But now, it's back to work. To Hockenheim for the German Grand Prix. It's where Ferrari so often produce their best. For Lewis Hamilton, will the Silverstone inspiration remain?
Hamilton's under pressure, up towards the line now.
Hamilton's pole position at Hockenheim following Hamilton's heroics at Silverstone that gives us this amazing three-way tie for the lead in the Drivers' Championship. Hamilton, Massa and Raikkonen, but it's Hamilton finding the form as we enter the second half of this potentially epic season. Today's German Grand Prix, at the moment at least, doesn't have the rain that was such an ally of Hamilton at the British Grand Prix, but the showers can move in swiftly at Hockenheim, as we've seen already this weekend. Get ready for the kind of excitement we enjoyed at Silverstone 2 weeks ago. So good afternoon and welcome to Hockenheim. We left Silverstone with the thought that Lewis Hamilton had really turned his season around. And now Mark Blundell, after qualifying yesterday, further proof that Lewis and McLaren are right back on form.
They really are on form. I think McLaren has stepped up. They're giving Lewis a great car, and Lewis has done a tremendous job. Pole position, and it was such a beauty to watch that lap.
Now, what do we make of this weather today? For a time this morning, the skies were clearing, the temperature was rising, and we thought maybe this will help Ferrari and their tyres.
Well, I think if it does rain, and there is a possibility of that, you're right, the clouds are coming in, it will be even matched, because I do feel that Ferrari are quite competitive in the wet. Saying that, the guy who's at the front for Ferrari, Massa, had a hell of a time when it came at Silverstone, 5 spins, so you may be thinking about that in the back of his mind.
A lot of the teams are getting forecasts of maybe heavy showers within the next hour.
Yeah, I think that is possible, but you know, as I say, I think Ferrari, McLaren, pretty evenly matched in the wet, although Lewis Hamilton, when you saw him at Silverstone, time and time again, you have to admire the skill behind the wheel.
But everyone is so twitchy because it's all to play for in this second half of the season, and Ted Kravitz can give us a very swift form guide and a thought of how things might develop from here on in.
It's like the championship is starting afresh. Kimi Raikkonen, Felipe Massa and Lewis Hamilton with the same points. Robert Kubica just 2 behind. But it's the Polish driver who looks like dropping back this weekend. His win in Canada is a distant memory. The car's not well balanced here, and there are even concerns that BMW have now fallen back behind Ferrari and McLaren.
The biggest problem is not that we are slower than them, but there are teams like Toyota, like Red Bull, like Renault, that they are pushing and they are getting very close, even too close.
Having already won a World Championship, Kimi is favourite to do it again. Like all the drivers, he needs to cut out these silly mistakes, but he also needs help from...
McLaren is strong, it's competitive, but we can be very competitive as well. And we're looking for the race tomorrow as well.
In Formula One, though, momentum is everything, so McLaren should capitalise on Ferrari's weakness here. Ferrari will be strong elsewhere, so Lewis Hamilton just needs to avoid a case of the yips in the run into the title.
At the moment, we're very, very strong. We've got a very strong car. We've really made some great steps forward. We've got more to come. And so I think for the back 9, we're really on a good starting position to really put the pressure on.
So your own form guide, Mark, if McLaren are getting it right, do you sense that BMW are starting to lose touch maybe with McLaren and Ferrari?
I think that actually there's a couple of other teams who have made a lot of progress. Red Bull, Renault, and I think maybe even Toyota, and they've started to drop the BMW team behind. And I think BMW have now looked to go towards 2009, and it seems to be quite evident. And there's a lot of rumours about that actually BMW are trying to make the car more drivable for Nick Heidfeld, and that's where they've lost some pace as well.
From the point of view of Ferrari, the big question yesterday, what's gone wrong with Kimi?
Kimi turned up Friday morning, the first lap, he didn't look comfortable, and so far this weekend we've never seen him really comfortable behind any of those laps he's done. And it's a little bit strange. It seems that Ferrari turn up with one car maybe a little bit off kilter, and they never get it right. This weekend so far, Massa's been very good in the Ferrari. Kimi, as you say, pretty disastrous for him.
Yeah, Massa looks on great form, and it's a Ferrari-McLaren front row, of course. And this weekend was looking like the first really straight fight, the straight trial of strength between McLaren and Ferrari. We had no driver penalties getting in the way. We had a circuit that really seemed to favour neither team above the other. No great weather problems either. But yesterday in qualifying, well, it was McLaren's day, certainly. And James Allen can take us through the details.
When the front-running cars are this close, it comes down to the human element to make a difference. And yesterday, we got a perfect example of that. With crosswinds making handling tricky.
We'll hear from Lewis Hamilton and what he got absolutely right at Silverstone 2 weeks ago as well. But this championship battle and the way it might be resolved is absorbing everyone here at Hockenheim. We can hear from a former world champion, Nicky Lauda now, who's talking with Ted Kravitz.
Well, Nicky, it's Lewis on pole, so you'd have to say he has the advantage now to build on the 48. Where do you see the rest of it going?
Now the season was started by everybody who could have been world champion made mistakes in a big way, which in my times you would have paid the bill. But thank God now they're all at the same point, so they all made the same amount of mistakes. From now on, no more mistakes. And this will decide the world championship. Lewis today is on pole position. He did a perfect job in practice. Kimi screwed up because he's only sixth, which can hurt him today with the result. So let's wait and see. In the end, the guy who is always doing the best performance in qualifying and no mistake in the race will be the world champion.
So who do you think will come out on top in the end?
The most clever guy now, because the cleverness now for these three top guys is to know when to lift. Because full throttle everybody can do, but to lift sometimes takes more brain than the full throttle, because the full throttle is in them anyway. So Lewis has to think, when do I have to lift to make the most point out of that situation? And this is the secret to be world champion.
And on the evidence of Silverstone, well, Hamilton is the man. No apologies now for taking a further look back at all the excitement of 2 weeks ago, the race action and the celebrations that followed. In a moment, Martin Brundle gets a revealing insight into the race from Lewis's point of view, what was happening in the McLaren cockpit. But the British Grand Prix 2008, it's a race we'll never forget.
Welcome everybody to a very damp Silverstone. There is an art to wet weather driving, and I think we're going to learn a lot more about it this afternoon.
These are the best drivers in the world. I think they're in for a very, very challenging afternoon.
Down the inside, the crowd goes mad as Lewis Hamilton size up the inside, but Kovalainen's not having that. He looks in his mirrors to see where Hamilton is. He's squeezing his teammate. Hamilton has to back out of it. Uncompromising driving by Kovalainen. It's Webber, Mark Webber from the front row of the grid, and look at the speed as they flash past him. A Ferrari has spun. Which one is it? It's Felipe Massa. Won the eventful first lap. Where Mansell passed Piquet, and now Hamilton has gone past Kovalainen in an equally memorable pass. Now we will see what kind of pace Hamilton has got.
Hamilton is making it work. Extraordinary skill that he's got out there.
Why did they not change the tyres? It's costing Ferrari dearly here. A cheeky little move there by Nick Heidfeld. He is on a mission. Rubens Barrichello, the most experienced man in the Grand Prix field, staring at a podium.
Barrichello loving that full wet tyre. Well, the BMW's off. That'll be in the gravel. That's going no further. Kubica out of the race.
Felipe Massa is having a miserable afternoon. When it's going wrong, it's really going wrong. So many questions asked about his commitment, about his distractions. Could he handle the pressure? Was he man enough? And he has shown them all with one of the great drives. Lewis Hamilton wins the British Grand Prix. A fantastic performance, a mesmerising drive, stunning by Lewis Hamilton.
The podium celebrations were beamed around the world. The more private celebrations were equally enthusiastic and underlined what British Grand Prix victory meant to the team. The race win was the perfect answer to those who felt that Lewis's crowded diary was becoming too much of a distraction. The next big commitment was to acknowledge the applause at the Goodwood Festival of Speed last Sunday, just as he had done when he came here, also as World Championship leader a year ago. But in contrast to the wet weather on that occasion, Lewis relished the opportunity to blast the McLaren up the Goodwood Hill, bathed in Sussex sunshine. The smile smiles haven't stopped, the autographs haven't stopped, and there's also been time for Martin Brundle to sit down with Lewis and examine exactly how good that British Grand Prix performance was.
I think a lot of people want to know how I do what I do. I don't even know how I do what I do. I just do it. When I did the outlap, the start that I did there felt good, and I remember the team asked me to make a change to make it more aggressive the next time, and I remember I questioned them about it, and they were like, actually, you're right, go, stay where you were, and it turned out it was the best place for me to be with the clutch settings and everything.
Right, first corner, you nearly take the lead from fourth on the grid, and you touch your teammate Kovalainen. That must have been a bit nervy, wasn't it?
It was. What you find is, because I was on the inside, the normal dry line where all the rubber goes down, what you normally race on, when the water gets on that, it's very slippery, so try to go offline majority of the time. So I was ahead up that point, and then I was understeering, I was on the power. If I lifted anymore, I would have been overtaken by Kimi and the guys behind. So I pretty much stayed on it, and I just tapped him. I was trying to avoid him, but we just tapped. I don't think it really caused him any problems.
First stop, you put new tyres on, Kimi didn't. Why do you think that was?
They seem to use their tyres a little bit less than us, for whatever reason, and their rear tyres especially. So my tyres had gone off, his were still good, and they believed, obviously they're looking at the wrong weather report, because we understood that it was going to rain again in about 8 minutes or whatever it was, and they didn't. They wanted to stay on the tyres and expect it to dry, and I capitalised on that, and I was able to pull instantly a gap. But on a track like that, it's all about knowing where the water is.
Well, this is the crunchy point. Senna passed me in a Formula 3 race at Silverstone in those conditions, and he knew there was grip around the outside of Stowe, and I didn't. Is it something you just try each lap?
I've raced there before, previously in Formula Renault. I found where the grip was in Renault, actually, Formula Renault. And then going from there, I tested on Friday or Saturday morning, whatever it was, and I tried it. And so it's just picking all the bits out of the puzzle, and being able to put them all together in one lap and do it time after time after time.
So you build a database as the weekend, or
Absolutely.
as all of your experiences
where the
added
others
together.
Look like they're just driving the same dry line as they did in the wet. In many ways, I'm sitting there thinking, why is everyone else not doing what I'm doing?
You're coming up to lap both Ferraris and Heikki in the sister McLaren. What's going through your mind?
What's going through my mind? Well, the team came on the radio and said, you don't need to overtake them, back off, out their spray. And I was just in the rhythm. Like, if I catch them, I catch them. If I don't, I don't. It's great to overtake the guys that you're competing with in the World Championship, because you know that when you overtake them, you know what they'll be thinking. Mentally, I was so focused. I was on this narrow line. I never really stepped out of it. I just felt fantastic. And then I saw the fans as well. I mean, to win on your home Grand Prix, it's my second attempt, and to do it then, it was just a very, very special weekend for me.
And that was a revealing insight into the confidence of Hamilton, the decision-making within the team, and how a driver can also unlock the secrets of a circuit. Secrets I'm sure he's not going to pass on to his teammate, Heikki Kovalainen, but fascinating stuff.
I think he might let the cat out the bag, though. I think everyone's going to follow him now in wet conditions and pick up the lines that he uses. And there is a lot to be learnt on a wet circuit. There is a lot of grip out there people don't actually explore. And Lewis, as he said, I think he's learnt a lot of that from the young formulas, even from his karting days. If there's grip there, he'll find it.
Well, Lewis behind us here is just preparing to get into the car, and we will follow him out onto the grid in the next few minutes or so. But another young driver, another very talented young driver, Sebastian Vettel, one of 5 German drivers on the grid today. He's been creating headlines of his own this week with the news that he's moving from Toro Rosso to take David Coulthard's place at Red Bull next season alongside Mark Webber. Plum drive for the young German, as Louise Goodman now reports.
Sebastian Vettel grew up just down the road from Hockenheim, but this was the first time he'd lapped the track where he learned his craft in a Bell 407. It was the first time he'd had a motocross bike flying over his head too, but this stunt did give Sebastian a chance to get up close and personal with the man who he'll be driving alongside at Red Bull next season. The pair have history, but it seems Mark's forgiven Vettel for crashing into him at Fuji last season, and hopefully Sebastian will also forgive Webber his sense of humour.
He's actually not a bad bloke for the nationality.
Mark Webber in rather mischievous mood there. What do you think he's going to be like as a teammate, Sebastian?
He will be definitely difficult to understand, and hopefully I hope that at the end of next year I won't be walking through the paddock and say, no problem mate, thanks mate.
I think you're going to have fun, you two, aren't you?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, first of all, I have to manage to understand him, but after that, I think we'll have some fun.
Now, you've been part of the Red Bull family since you were a tiny wee thing, but I presume that's not the only reason that you've decided to move into that Red Bull seat.
No, definitely not. I mean, just looking at the results over the last couple of years, you can see that the tendency is pointing upwards. So, and that's exactly where I want to be. So, there was never been a doubt. And apart from that, I mean, it's brilliant to stay with Red Bull. As you mentioned, I've been with them and they're supporting me since I was a little kid, since I was 12 years old, I think so. So, it's a pleasure. I know the people, the atmosphere is great. I love it.
Cheers. Have a good race today.
Thank you.
Back at the garage, Lewis Hamilton, a final handshake with his brother Nicholas, and the final preparations to take pole position for this German Grand Prix. But Mark, do you feel that's the future of Formula One, the likes of Sebastian Vettel and Robert Kubica against Lewis Hamilton?
Very much so. They are the new generation of drivers. I think Vettel's a great find for Red Bull. I mean, he's been in the Toro Rosso, the sister team. They've analysed him, they've seen his performances, and he keeps putting his nose in places where nobody expects him to be. Also smart for Vettel. He's going to be in a car 2009, which should be a lot healthier in terms of performance. Adrian Newey with 2009 regulations, new piece of paper and new design. Basically, they should be a lot more progressive than what they have been this season.
OK, cars out onto the grid very shortly. The drivers' parade took place a short while ago in bright sunshine, although there are some rain clouds in the distance. And the drivers taking a look at a Hockenheim circuit that isn't quite full, but certainly was providing a great backdrop and atmosphere for today's race. German Grand Prix last season was held at Nürburgring, but when it was staged here at Hockenheim in 2006, Raikkonen took pole, but Schumacher took the race in his retirement year for Ferrari. I had the chance to talk to Michael, the 7-time world champion, yesterday.
It is very nice to come back here. I've seen a lot of people, they still haven't forgotten about me. And no, it's really a pleasure without really feeling the need of sitting in the car. In my position I'm now, I'm really satisfied to be of support to the team and enjoy this part of work.
We got this fantastic battle now for the Drivers' Championship. Three-way tie, Kubica in touch as well. From your experience, what do you think will be the element that will decide it?
Well, you always talk about the consistency. That is part of a key factor for winning a championship. You have seen the championship being very different to probably past championships due to many reasons, rule changes and so on. But the rest of the season, yeah, the guy who scores the most consistent points will probably win, because we have 2, if not 3 teams very close together, highly competitive, great driving. So the better one who can do it over the rest of the year will do it.
Now, what do you make of Lewis Hamilton? You were exiting the scene just as he was coming into Formula One. How have you viewed his progress over the last 2 seasons?
Well, I mean, it's no doubt that he has a lot of talent, and he's driving in a very high level. So do our drivers. It's a great thing to see a championship with 3 teams, basically, because a long time ago that I can remember that you have 3 teams that physically can win races. And that's what excites me a lot, and I guess your spectators also.
Do you see him as a special talent? How much would you have enjoyed racing against Lewis?
You know, I was doing it in my time. Now is the next generation with Philipp, Kimi, Lewis, and so on. Many, I mean, you have Kubica, you have Sebastian Vettel. There's a new generation, and they're all really skilled.
And happy with life, not keen to get back behind the wheel of a Formula One car, in anger again anyway?
No, I have had my time. I enjoyed that time, but now it's the next step in my life going on.
Michael Schumacher is still much loved by fans around the world, and of course especially here in Germany. The rising star in Germany is Sebastian Vettel, who, it was confirmed earlier in the weekend, will be racing for Red Bull next season. Elsewhere, Honda have all but confirmed that they're going to be retaining Jenson Button and Rubens Barrichello for 2009. Now, that's 2 teams that Fernando Alonso had been talking to. So it seems, Pat Simmons, that it's likely that Fernando is going to be staying with you for 2009, and I guess that's good news.
Yeah, it is. He's been an important part of the team in the last few years. He's pushing hard for us now. Of course we want him to stay.
And the pace is coming up. It's improving in it, especially in qualifying, but it seems you've still got a bit of an issue in race pace.
Yeah, we have. I'm pleased with the progress we've made. It is getting quicker. We still need to look after our rear tyres a bit in the race. There's still work to do, but that's what makes it fun.
You're starting well up there today, 5th on the grid. What's your prediction?
I'm hoping we can maintain that. When it'll be difficult to get further than that, but if we can get a good 5th place finish here, I think I'll be quite happy.
Have a good one. Cheers, Pat.
Thank you.
Well, hello, Ralphie. Nice to see you again. Have you missed us?
Some of you, yes. No. I mean, it was a good time being off a bit and do something else. And due to Mercedes having a great weekend here with their own grandstand and stuff like that, all the DTM drivers had to come. And it's quite good to see the other side of it as well.
How's it going in the DTM for you at the moment?
Well, I mean, being in the used car it is a bit difficult, but that was the target of it, just to learn and see how it goes through the year, whether I can be as good as the other used car drivers, which is working relatively okay. And I just enjoy it, I have to say. Less pressure, less, just different kind of racing.
Ralf Schumacher, Michael Schumacher, they're the past here at Hockenheim. It's Lewis Hamilton on pole position, getting set to leave the McLaren garage. And a couple of races ago, Mark, we were talking about perhaps Lewis being a little bit overwound up about races, over-driving. Do you sense a new calmness about him this weekend?
I think that calmness has come off the back of the British Grand Prix. I think that win that he took there has given him an extra boost. And I think it's put everything in perspective. And he's actually lifting his game again, I think. He's actually taken a little step backwards to go 2 steps forward, and you can see that.
Because we've heard from Michael Schumacher, we've heard from Niki Lauda during the course of our programme. From here on in, it's consistency that counts.
It's going to be consistency for any of the guys to try and achieve those 3 at the moment, because that's what's going to count for this championship. Everybody who keeps knocking in those valuable points, and when the rough days turn up and they still produce a result, that's what's going to really make it happen come the end of this season when they tally up the points.
So Lewis Hamilton on the way to take up the 9th pole position of his Formula One career, and he's got a pretty good results record from pole position. We shall see this afternoon. Cars heading for the grid anyway, and it's a circuit that does have its own very distinctive atmosphere, Hockenheim. Life on some of the surrounding campsites here can be a little exuberant and a little primitive. They loved it here when Michael Schumacher was winning races, but having 5 German drivers on the grid as we do this afternoon, what is the next best thing?
German drivers make up a quarter of the field. So with Michael Schumacher's legacy playing an increasingly important role in the sport, here's the F1 guide to better understanding the Germans.
We come to Germany as English people. There are a few things we don't understand. Can you explain the attraction of David Hasselhoff to the German public?
No, I can't.
Can you tell us a German joke?
I'm not so good in jokes. You have to ask for something else.
Hello. They're very loud, the German fans, and especially the camping ones. They like their hard rock.
What's the fascination with David Hasselhoff?
This I never understood as well, so...
They pull each other's leg and have fun and have a couple of beers, but they are good guys.
And the air horns as well. It's always loud. It's the loud thing, as you remember when you come to Germany.
Can you tell us something funny in German? Maybe a favourite joke of yours?
No, there is no fun in Germany.
In all fairness, I think as an Englishman you shouldn't criticize our style of eating or food, because you're not very famous for having a good menu.
And there are some beautiful girls here.
The German humour, I think, is quite dry, so sometimes if I try and use that in English, it doesn't really work out. People think, what an idiot is this guy?
I wanted to ask an urbane Frenchman what it's like coming to Germany, where maybe the style and sophistication of Europe seems to have escaped some of the people around here.
That's coming out of your mouth, dude.
So 5 German drivers on the grid, but you have to say that none of them are actually threatening race victory today, which I suppose in its own way is no laughing matter. Instead, it's Britain and Brazil on the front row, Hamilton and Massa, and Martin Brundle will be on the grid with them for our final race build-up in a few minutes' time. grid is forming for the German Grand Prix here at Hockenheim. The celebrities are gathering. No bigger celebrity in these parts than Michael Schumacher, in animated conversation there with Flavio Briatore, who was so much a part of Michael Schumacher's early success. And of course, the last time the German Grand Prix was here at Hockenheim, it was Schumacher winning in a Ferrari. Ferrari, a team with such a fantastic record on this circuit. 18 times they've won the German Grand Prix, twice as many as any other constructor. But Luis is out there on the grid, and Michael Schumacher will watch things from the wings, but Luis is with David Coulthard.
Yeah, David Coulthard, who's a big celebrity in my book. But DC, we've been hearing earlier on that your seat's going to be taken by Sebastian Vettel next season. What kind of job do you think he's going to do?
Well, I think he's showing that he's mature, capable, making good use of our car. And rumour has it he's got a little more horsepower behind him as well, so you know, I think it'll be quite a close race between us.
What about today? What kind of job do you think you're going to be able to do? Because you're starting quite well.
Yeah, no, we should be okay. We're a bit longer than the guys in front. Don't know where we are, obviously, relative to those outside the top 10. But it's, you know, the people who are in front of us are genuinely quicker. So if they run normally, that'll be difficult to get a point.
Cheers, David.
Thanks.
We say at every race, but that midfield battle is going to be quite intense, and Red Bull are very much part of it these days. But what about this man, Felipe Massa? Bad race at Silverstone, but so often he follows a bad race with a very good one.
It seems to be the case, and I think Massa's got really to push today and make sure he gets that 10 points. And I'm interested to see when it comes to the first stops who's going to stop first, because I've got a sneaky feeling that possibly Ferrari
will be heading down there as well to join Jensen at the back of the grid, and also to join Martin Brundle, who's down there somewhere.
Welcome to the grid. Well, as you said, 2006 since we were last there. So many changes since then. We had two Schumachers on the grid back then, Michelin tyres, of course, and as you probably heard in qualifying yesterday, half of this field didn't drive in that Grand Prix. So a lot of new boys out there to that extent, although many of them would have driven the circuit in the lesser formulae. Let's see if we can just have a word here. Lewis Hamilton, great pole position. Heard lots from him in the show so far, and a quick word from his dad. Anthony, how's Lewis? Anything he said this morning? He seemed super confident after quali.
No, he's fine. To be quite honest, he's just been relaxing in his room this morning and just looking forward to getting on with the race.
All right, good stuff. Good luck. Big job ahead. Now, I think Lewis is going to have his hands full with Felipe Massa. He did a tremendous run in practice, a long run. Maybe this Ferrari's a little bit softer and easier on its tyres over those longer stints. And I'm hearing that they're not expecting rain in the race. There might be a bit of a sprinkling later on, which could challenge the driver. We saw that happen in the GP2 race, and it was absolute pandemonium. Let's see if we can find a peddler to talk to. Jarno Trulli is over here, and let's see if we can just squeeze through. Jarno, quick word, ITV, how's it going?
Pretty well. The car seems balanced and especially competitive on this track again. So the team is moving ahead. I'm really happy because they're doing a very good job and they give me the chance, you know, to battle with the front runners.
So who are you racing today, do you reckon? Who's your main competition? You expect to see anything of the gearboxes of Hamilton and Massa and Kovalainen?
Well, you know that I'm quite realistic. I cannot race Ferrari or McLaren, but maybe I can try to race BMW and for sure Renault.
What about your old teammate then, Fernando Alonso? Is he a bit lighter than you, do you think?
I think we are on a similar strategy. I just hope to have one more extra lap, which will save me especially for the first stint, and then we will see.
Finally, your red wine this year is the best so far. Thanks for sending it. Cheers. He's such a nice bloke, isn't he? Let's have a wander down, see if we can find a BMW driver. I haven't spoken to one of those for a while. And plenty of people on the grid, isn't there? It's a nice feeling down there. Really, really sort of busy sort of hustle and bustle going on down here. And somebody just telling me that Hakkinen is heading my way. Haven't seen him. I don't know if we've passed him. I'd love to. Let's do a Marty's random person. Haven't done one of these. Excuse me, who are you? Do you speak English?
Yes, of course.
What are you doing on the grid today?
I'm a journalist. I'm here just to see the final moments before the start.
You look like Fernando Alonso's older brother, to be honest.
Pardon?
You look like Alonso's older brother.
No, not at all. I'm Italian. I work for Corriere della Sera. And my colleague,
Who do you want to win today then?
Sorry?
Who do you expect to win today?
Oh, yes, I think Lewis, because it's very difficult to overtaking here. So I think that if in a normal race, without rain, I think that Lewis can win. Yes.
Right. Well, we hope there's loads of rain and it's complete and utter carnage and chaos, because that makes for good races. Let's just dive in and speak to my old McLaren teammate here, Mika Häkkinen, talking to pedals from the Red Bull team. Mika, good to see you, mate. You're looking very glossy here, I have to say.
Thank you very much.
Is that retirement that's done that? Is it all the bling stuff?
Yes and no.
Right, what are you doing here? Are you working this weekend for Mercedes-Benz or something?
Well, first of all, I'm ambassador for Mercedes-Benz, doing a lot of work for Johnny Walker to be ambassador for them, to doing a campaign, Don't Drink and Drive. Also doing a work for Hermes, the logistic company here in Germany.
Yeah, right, now we don't need to get...
Is long.
Right, your old manager, Keke Rosberg, was just telling me that he said when I was managing him, I couldn't get him to do one PR event, and now he doesn't stop. What's the difference? You're bored at home or something?
No, I tell you what, I enjoy doing this enormously. Motor racing for me was the great passion in my life. I want to be successful in Formula One and motor racing. Now this is my life, I want to be successful what I do, work with my partners. And all these partners more or less are the partners when I was racing. And I want to give them the best shot to do the...
That's a McLaren term partner. We call them sponsors. Now, your trophies got burned down in the house. Did you lose all of your trophies? Because I nearly cried when I heard that, genuinely. That's terrible. Is it true?
Yeah, it was a really, really dreadful situation. Yeah, I lost all my trophies, so I had to... Thanks for the McLaren. They will help me to get all the trophies back. Yeah, it's a sad. But again, it's just a material,
But the tortoise is okay, yeah? Oh, yeah, the tortoise is not with you anymore. Oh God, now I've touched the really. Right, I wonder if I have a feeling that we might even be able to talk to Mr. Fernando Alonso. Is he sort of up for it? He's been off for a comfort break. He's been back, talked to his engineers, and I'm hoping that we might actually. Good luck, Sebastian. I hope we might actually be able to... well, look, we're on a bit of a false journey here. This is taking us away from going to find Nick Heidfeld. So I think I'm going to throw back to Mr. Steve Ryder.
Another brave effort from Martin, but things are just a little bit impenetrable down there on the grid. Interesting to hear, though, that Martin certainly thinks that Lewis this afternoon has got his hands full of Felipe Massa's challenge.
I think that's based upon just watching the Ferraris at work, especially Massa this weekend. He's been doing long runs, probably 5 or 6 laps. They've been very consistent, and that's going to be a major concern for Lewis Hamilton with his tyres.
OK, let's hear from Jenson Button, who's with Louise, before the music starts.
Jenson, first thing I have to say to you is, what is it with those shades?
What do you mean?
Well, is that your latest look?
Well, they match the outfit, so I thought they were perfect for the grid.
Very.
Mikey's got the red pair on. We're just looking for a green pair at the moment.
Well, you can keep those for yourself. I don't think I'll be bothering you for them. Let's talk about some racing. How are you looking today? I mean, you're starting down at the back of the grid, but what's the best you can expect for?
Well, it's not quite the back. That was the last couple of races. We're a little bit further up. I'm 14th on the grid, so we'll see what we can do. I just got to try and stay out of trouble on the first lap. It's been a bit of a pain the last couple of races, but if we can, we'll see how it goes. I mean, I don't know how we compare to the people around us. So we'll see. I mean, points are very difficult, but you never know. I mean, this is a place where so much can happen. So
how big is the potential for trouble here?
There is quite a bit. Turn 1, the hairpin, not just on the first lap either. I mean, it can happen later in the race because there are possibilities for overtaking into the hairpin. But it's also very easy to lock a front or lock a rear, so you can be barreling down the inside completely locked up. So there's potential for a lot of excitement, and I'm looking forward to it.
Cheers, mate. See you later.
Well, the message is clear there for Lewis. Even if he does make the perfect start, it's that hairpin and maybe the run down to the hairpin, which is the biggest problem on the first lap for him.
Now, of course, he's going to be hoping to get away first and just lead into that hairpin and use the reference points for himself, and everybody's going to have to work back from that. But, just looking at Jenson Button there and those few words, he's got a level of confidence. I think he knows his car's better in race trim than what it is in qualifying trim, so he may have a sensible day.
Where do you stand on respective fuel loads? What have you learnt this morning?
I'm pretty sure, and I may be proven wrong by this, but Massa's got a little bit more fuel in than the McLaren guys, and I think maybe even a split between Kovalainen and Hamilton by a lap or two. So let's see on that, Steve. But if that is the case, Lewis has really got to make a break for it early on.
Okay, well, a reminder of all the information you can get on the ITV F1 website as Lewis Hamilton gives his last few handshakes. And this is what you can get on the website. Background on the sport. You can play the fantasy game as well, get video updates. That's the website. A reminder also of the ITV F1 competition.
This week we've got a trip to the Italian race, courtesy of Abbi and Santander. You and a friend will have VIP hospitality at the historic Monza racetrack on Saturday the 13th and Sunday the 14th of September. You'll have your flights included, 3 nights accommodation at a 4-star hotel near the track and transfers to and from the airport and the circuit. To be in with a chance of winning this prize from Abbi and Santander, just answer this question correctly. Which team is based closest to Monza? Is it A, Ferrari, B, Renault, or C, Honda? To enter, call 090 4959 6789. Calls cost £1 from a BT landline. Calls from other networks may be higher, and from mobiles will be considerably more. Or you can text the word F1 and your answer, A, B or C, to 63337. Text cost £1 plus 1 standard network rate message. Digital, satellite and cable viewers can enter by pressing their red button now. You can also enter for free at itv.com until 5 p.m. on Friday the 25th of July. Entrance must be 18 or over and lines close at 5 p.m. on Tuesday the 22nd of July. Entries made after closing time won't be counted but may still be charged.
Good luck with that. The countdown continues here at Hockenheim to the start of the German Grand Prix. We heard from Martin Brundle down on the grid that the feeling is that rain is not going to be a factor this afternoon. Some teams feel otherwise. Temperature could be, though, and if the temperature goes up, how could that help Ferrari in particular?
That plays into their hands, basically, because if the temperature starts climbing, track temperature climbs up there with it, then that's going to be a little bit of an advantage for Ferrari, because they do use their tyres a little bit better than what the McLaren does. McLaren a little bit harder on the tyre wear, and I think also for Lewis, the driving style that he's got, a little bit tougher on those front tyres. But as we are at the moment, I think they're okay. I don't think it's going to get to those kind of temperatures, going to have that big effect on the race.
Does seem to be slightly less of a breeze around the circuit than was yesterday. That was troubling the drivers yesterday.
That was a big problem for a number of guys. They were getting caught out with crosswinds. They were getting onto the line and just turning in, and then the wind just catching them halfway through. And as you say, I think it's died down slightly, so we're being for a more consistent race.
We saw Robert Kubica there, who'll be starting off row 4 with Mark Webber. Home Grand Prix, of course, for BMW, but they do seem to be up against it.
They are a little bit behind where they expected to be, I'm sure of that, and I think BMW would prefer to be sitting there on the front row alongside their colleagues in Germany with Mercedes-Benz. But, you know, that's the sort of thing what happens when you have a bit of focus halfway through the season. It's very difficult to keep it going all the way through.
But sitting on the front row, sitting on pole position, much to the pleasure of Ron Dennis, is Lewis Hamilton. And that British Grand Prix of 2 weeks ago, it was absolutely electrifying viewing, and it brought this 2008 championship to a whole new competitive level. But who has the momentum from now on into the second half of the season? Well, it looks like Hamilton on the evidence of yesterday's qualifying, but the next couple of hours here at Hockenheim are going to provide some very important answers.